needs to feel witnessed, not crafted. And so the sort of sense of honesty in it needs to come through. In a movie that can be very fleeting in terms of your access with characters, because it's like, get presented with something, you want to know more, we're moving on. And that's the nature of the ticking clock of the movie. So it's all of these things have to sort of align really fast and really well, but the truth part of it is the main construct.
Music can help to make it a little bit more accessible. You have to find the points where you can actually go maybe a little bit more melodic and just open up the heart of the audience. Just because they, it's not, they don't want to go through a torture over 90 minutes. They also want to feel a part of the film.
We've already lost one American city today. How many more do you want to risk?
What kind of fucking question is that? This is insanity, okay?
No, sir. This is reality. 6 minutes to impact.
Volker would never give you anything that's not worthy of the film, but sometimes a different temperature was required from Kathryn. So he would give us a piece that was perfect if you wanted thriller. And Kathryn once or twice sort of said, well, I wonder if this part of the movie can hold horror. And so the direction to Volker is like, turn down thriller knob, turn up horror knob, because neither of us are going to tell him to use more cello unless, it's much more general. And then the next thing that comes a few days later is an expert piece for more horror. So there isn't minutiae direction with Volker. It's more, it's much bigger stuff. And he just sort of, throws bullseye darts.
When I'm starting the process, a lot of the editing they had already a long conversation beforehand. And there's also you as a composer, you have to have also a certain respect to that kind of process. So you can't come in and just slam it with music. You have to find out the sensibilities in a film, and what the music not only does for you, it's also, you have to find out what it does for Kirk, what it does for Kathryn, just to figure out where are the sensibilities. I remember we did one round, Kathryn said, why don't we do it a little darker? So we tried a couple of things that were much darker than they are now. And then I think a week later we dialed back and said, no,
then we panicked.
It's too dark, But what that means is, if conversations like that, and Kirk is a fantastic editor, so we both admire each other's work, but at the same time you don't want to hold back with your opinion. It's the tone, how you describe things and how you talk with each other, that actually can uplift the whole process.
Something we talked a lot about was the silence when we weren't using music, which is just as important as when we're using music. Is what are the things that we sort of build boundaries around and don't touch musically, so that when it does come in, it has impact. Once it sort of hits a crisis, which is pretty early on in every act, the urgency of the film never goes away. So if you bring in score, it can be a bit of a trick to get rid of it, so that it doesn't just become a wash.
With House of Dynamite, it has a lot of dialogue, and it is quite documentary, and you don't want to start with sweeping strings on top of it, or with low thriller music, because actually that was what we discussed with horror and thriller. It needs much more undercurrent danger that is hard to achieve with constant music or with themes that are long. So you have to find, in a way, little vignettes, in a way, to drop them here and there, and they're connected maybe with a low note or with a low texture, but then it comes back again. And in a way, the structure of All Quiet and House of Dynamite, they have similar topographies in the way. And then obviously the ramps are one important, tool where you find the moment where it should reach the peak. But it's not always like the end of the chapter. It's maybe in the middle when we see the red triangle. There is the boom, and then it drops, and then there's silence.
Confirm impact. Confirm impact. Stand by, confirm.
Hold.
Come on, what are you waiting for?
It's negative.
Negative impact.
Object remains inbound.
We did everything right? Right? We did every fucking thing right!
I got to cut it in story order, and I'm such a fan of being able to do that. It gives such clarity to what you're seeking out as you're building each film, because I'm, the first audience member in history with it, and I'm building it out one at a time going, wow, what's next? And it was so helpful. But then once I got to the end of that process, and I knew that we had a movie together that was emotionally correct, that the thriller aspect of it was working, then I guess the challenge was sort of doing all of that fine-tuning, that perfecting of they said this at this point in the movie in the second act, and it took 20 seconds to get to this, but in that one it's taking 10 seconds, and I want to get those things closer. Because we were coming from a place where the movie was already working, I didn't need necessarily to extract all that exactness out of it, but it always felt important to me that we were presenting something factual, that it wasn't a filmic impression of what occurred, that it was almost a documentary sort of precision to how we utilize time and information. So a president's performance on camera at the end wasn't the performance that I used originally when we hear him in the beginning, because I hadn't cut that yet. So then when his performance gets ironed out, you then take that and bring it back, and it changes the timing of what's been said here. So there was all of this sort of fiddle work that was nerve-wracking for Kathryn, because the movie was already working. And I've got my meddling fingers in there adjusting and changing, and we're learning each other as well. You learn how to communicate with each other, and I'd learn how to make sure that Kathryn was along the ride with me. And whenever I sort of changed something to be correct editorially, but it was worse emotionally, she's the safety net of kind of going, we don't need to do that one. Let's do all the ones that we do need. And it's this sort of, it's such a intricate, it's a bizarre job that we all have, the both of us. It's so delicate and strange, and the smallest minutia changes the feelings of things. And all movies are really is just this mass collection of minutia, all joined together to kind of create a spell.
None of this makes sense. Making all these bombs and all these plans. The walls are just ready to blow.